An airplane starts from Montreal, Canada, about halfway in its flight path and about 41,000 feet up in the sky. Its fuel tanks are empty. A life in a death situation unfolds. And what happens next, and how you can use that to bring math to your students, your children, in a gripping way. I'll show you. Stick around. Hey, this is Moni Singh, an engineer, a creator, a mother, and a lifelong learner. Many people know me as Miss STEM, the founder of the STEM for Kids movement. I created this channel to help you raise your children, your students, for success in this ever transforming world laced with increasing digital influence. You watch these videos because you know that there's something more inside your kids. They got the Elon Musk type of talent hidden inside them. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button, and I share regularly, and as a subscriber, you have access to the practical tips, tools, and resources to raise resilient creators. Sometimes I just wonder whether to be sad or not to be. I used to be in India and my weight was 60. And then I came here to the US and my weight became 132. Well, you know what? We have other pressing matters at hand, and I started off talking about this airplane. So, well, we'll talk about, well, forget about that, the weight issue that can wait. Now let's talk about this airplane, right? That's where I left you guys. Yes, how can I forget that? So let's talk about this plane. So this is a real airplane, a flight that took place back in the 1980s. So it's a Air Canada flight number 143 back in 1980s, and it's flying from Montreal. So you can see that right there on the eastern coast of Canada, and it's flying to Edmonton, which is closer to the west coast. So that's the flight path, and they're flying on Boeing 767. It's brand new. So Air Canada basically was changing its fleet, and they had just introduced Boeing 767 um, into their flight. So it was an exciting journey. And the halfway, so the flight starts, and then halfway into the trajectory is when the pilots start receiving some warning signs. So there's warning about low pressure in the fuel pumps. And then suddenly the left engine stops. So now you're up in the atmosphere, right? 41,000 feet up in the sky, in the middle of your flight trajectory, and operating on one engine alone. And this is when the pilots, the captain, Bob Pearson, decides that they have to start immediately descending. And the goal is to land in Winnipeg. So there's an airport in the vicinity, so you want to land right there. Now, while they are maneuvering and trying to figure all that out, is then the unthinkable that happens. Right then, the right engine stops functioning as well. So now the plane is literally up in the sky without any engines working. And so now the captain, so the co-pilot at this point in time makes a call to the Winnipeg, the airport that they had previously determined that they were going to make an emergency landing in. And the co-pilot calls and says, "Hey, we lost both our engines." And the Winnipeg ATC, the air traffic controller, their response is, "Holy cow." It is a very a treacherous situation to be in. And so at this point in time, the captain decides that, we are going to land the plane in Gimli. So Gimli used to be a former Air Force base. And they say, okay, this is the only option we have. There's no other option. We got to try and land the plane right there at Gimli. Now, at this point in time, the captain had no idea that Gimli had been converted to a drag car racing strip. But nonetheless, the captain goes in and he does some kind of a forward slip maneuver so that you can get more drag on the plane and less of the lift, so the plane can actually come down. So the plane's literally just gliding, right? There is no, it's just gliding in the sky, and they're trying to land it safely. So they go through that the maneuver, and then land the plane. Of course, it's an impactful landing, but the great part is that the plane lands, and everybody on board, there were about 69 people, including passengers and the crew members, everybody on board is safe, and even people outside, everybody, so no casualties at all. So that was amazing. The plane landed and everybody is out safe. So now the investigation begins, right? What really happened in this situation? Why is it that the plane that took off from Montreal, and when you look at the logs, everything kind of went as planned, and then all of a sudden you're receiving these low fuel pressure warning in the middle of the flight path, and the first engine stops and the second one. What happened, right? So now, as the investigations happen, they're starting to figure out, they're starting to piece together different things, and so they check the fuel, the fuel logs, and they say, okay, you know what? In Montreal, the log indicates that the plane needed 22,300 the quantity of the jet fuel, and it was fueled to that amount. And when they look into any signs for leakage of any fuel during the first half of the flight, they see none. So there has been no leakage at all. So then all of a sudden, what happened? Did the fuel just evaporate? Like, what really happened here? So what happened with this plane? And you know what? I cannot even get into answering that question before we delve into. We have to now. I think my wait has waited enough. We have to think about what's really going on, because this is a dreadful situation for me. From 60 to 132, that's crazy. How can you live with something like that? So I remember back in the days, when I had started STEM for Kids, and this used to be one of the biggest quandaries I would discuss with the students, with the kids, and we do these big events, and there'll be lots of children, and hey children, I just don't know what to whether to feel sad or not to be sad with all this thing happening with my weight. So the kids were very curious. They would ask, oh, it must be so sad. What happened to all your old clothes? Do they still fit you? Or what how did he manage, and how did he deal with people talking about different things. So there was a lot of all this conversation going on, and uh, that's when I started to point to the kids that, hey, listen, when I said I was 60 and now I'm 132, um, what did I really say? Did I miss something in there? But listen, here's the big thing, right? When I say I was 60 and now, and in US it's 132, does it really mean anything? What? 60 what? Right? Are we talking 60 plates, spoons, 60 liters, 60 years? Like, what are we talking about here? And when you start asking like that, that's when you see the light bulbs go on. Okay. Now you see what I'm talking about here? Yeah, 60 kilos. And of course, in America, we have a totally different measurement system, right? So in India, it was metric system, and in America, it's the foot pound systems. And so you start measuring in pounds. And no, I didn't change, but it was just that the measurement changed. And from pounds, from kilos, it became pounds. Now, well, okay, thank God. At least my quandary is solved. So, Let's talk about what happened at Gimli. Hey, now that you have watched this or heard what I just shared, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And also, depending on which platform you're on, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating or like and comment. And also share this resource with your friends and relatives so that they can also get their hands on all this valuable information that I'm sharing. Now, one more thing, I am giving away my 7 C's blueprint for raising successful children. So if you have not gotten a copy yet, go ahead and do that right away. You can go to www.raisingresilientcreators.com. The link is down in the description. So go ahead, click on it and get that resource. It's a very valuable resource that can help you with your priority of getting your children on the pathway towards success. So with that, again, subscribe to the channel and go ahead and get that resource right away.